everyone, and welcome to race number 2 of week number 6, HRL Short Track Showdown. We're on Skyway GK, this track created by Detail. First track on the night, I cooked up with C6 Speedway, and then the one after this to end off the night is Louisville AX, which I cooked up most of that one with some tweaks from Detail as well, so combo forge effort from us on most of the week. But yeah, pretty cool track here. Nothing, well, I was going to say nothing too crazy, but there is some pretty crazy stuff. That wouldn't really be correct. Part of this track looks like, you know, just a normal Firestone Firehawk GK, some rollover action, downhill chicane, just some pretty typical stuff that we'd see on something like this. And then you have that weird ending section with like a pothole, and you have the crazy grab volumed up banked opener to the track. So you also have like a double that you kind of have to try to hit. Wow, I was big trolling in this one. Wait to see what I do with Slaunch so we get through the lineup here. But yeah, it's a pretty crazy track. Again, I love the effort from everyone on these Firehawk GKs and spicing up all these as we go green here. It's a 35 lap race. For some reason, that seems to be the sweet spot for a lot of these tracks, 35 laps. A lot of these races seem to be. And here we go. And yep, big crash early on. That was always going to be a question mark on this track. The start is difficult. You have drivers going 3 wide already, multiple 3 wides, which is not really ideal on a section that is very heavily banked. It's got grab volumes. And you see Armada at the bottom just struggling to stay on the track. That's what he's trying to do. He's just trying to stay on the surface. It's going to put him in a really awkward spot because he's trying not to cut, but he's also trying to like run the track. And he does a decent job of it, but I think it's just unfortunate they get hooked up and he's already like flipping when he re-enters, and everybody probably just a little too much speed. And yeah, just big crash early on. Not too surprising. There's always going to be a possibility of like that happening on this track. It's a wild opening. Yeah, I love the, again, like all the individual series have like later season potential in this season. I think like these Firestone GK is really fun. These crazy layouts can lead to moments like this. Taking a look at another replay of it here, as it's obviously a really big moment. The race. See Hunter and Detail got it really bad. The outside wall there. Armada's like still barrel rolling. A lot of drivers involved. Like I'd say damn near half the field probably made contact in that one. See how wild start. The one driver that was pretty happy with that start is Soul. Soul started up front and was able to get ahead of that early on. So that front starting spot, a big advantage on this one. He's already got a pretty nice gap for the lead. This is not looking good here. Oh, that's unfortunate. Camby slides up, Detail right behind him. That was weird. Camby got caught out and couldn't really get turned in time. Oh no, Armada off the back of that too. A lot of calamity early on in this one. Yeah, it's a tricky track. I mean, again, these Firestone GKs, there's a lot of time gain potential on this one. Like for how small of a track it is, and you think it wouldn't be that crazy, you can make up hefty time in like 3 of the sections on this track, and so it makes it very spicy. But at the same time, going for those passes is really difficult and risky. It's still a walled off tight track, so got to really calculate your moves. Slaunch going for one there, not working out. Right timing on that one. It looks like a group of Slaunch, Blake, and Luke trying to get by Coop, I think. Yeah, so Luke's going to go into second there. That was by Coop. You see Roman trailing behind there too. Oh wow, making a move. Coop getting in the outside wall. Oh, gets the end of it there too. It's unfortunate. Rejoins. Good rejoin. Could have been scary, but not too bad. Slaunch, you see, trying to set up. Ah, that sucks. The lines come together. He's really trying to set up the landing on that double. It's an important part of the track. You definitely gain quite a bit of time because you land it properly. You gain time like on that whole run up the hill afterwards. So it's very important part of the track to get down. But yeah, as you can see, Soul obviously has a really big early lead. Starting up front on this one was a nice place to be. That's Luke and Roman. Roman got by Blake. So Luke and Roman second and third. Looking pretty close early on. That's Blake fourth, and Detail trying to get by Slaunch here. Work his way into the top 5. Slaunch obviously still with a really good start in the night. He's got a good position here too. He's had some really rough starts in these GK races. It's not an amazing position here, but considering he started in the back, I'd say this is actually like better than his average position at this point in the race in some of these GK ones. So obviously, with winning the first race, we'll keep an eye on him throughout the night, see if he's got any overall potential. Blake and Roman, of course, finishing in the podium, so they've got some good potential there too. Roman would definitely be leading the overall right now as he'd be on like a 3-2, I think, Slaunch on a 1-5. Actually, it might be pretty close between them now that I think about it. But yeah, it'd be really close between them. Blake's in a decent spot too, but he might be getting passed by Detail here. Pressure to the inside, and a little bit of tree action. That's not gonna help out the pass there. Detail gonna have to try to rework that one. Slaunch still behind, just trying to. He seems like he's got speed, but he just can't find the right opportunity. Slaunch seems to be finding a wall every time he goes for a move, so try to figure that one out. Gap widened a bit here. Getting a little bit of leeway on Roman. Two close competitors there. Again, the 3 championship contenders, and I would say 3 because even though he's a little bit distant from the top 2, he's still close enough to be in the conversation this season, I think. Are Detail, Luke, and Roman. So they're obviously 3 to keep an eye on now that we've got, these races and 2 weeks after this remaining. It's a bit of a long shot for Roman. He does have quite a bit of a gap to work, but if he can keep some good finishes going, and if he can get some bad luck for Detail and Luke, it's not out of the question. Like I'd say anybody else, it's tough. I'd say anybody else is pretty much out of it. Like they can get some good finishes and get some good points, but probably can't compete for the championship at this point. But Roman is still in it, for sure. So those are 3 drivers to keep an eye on. Well, when we get to the recap and all that stuff, we'll take a look at the wildcard fight and the top 6 and everything too, because it's actually going to be a very important week. I'm going to bring it up at this point in this race. These races for this night are still important, but yeah, next week is very important because next week is the final, it's the cutoff week to make it into the grand final. And we do have some spice as well. It is not like last season of Mega Mix where it was like, okay, well, these wildcard guys going into last week, like they're pretty well set. Like they'll probably be the wildcards. There's one person that applies to, and it's Blake. Blake is probably set. It'd be an insane upset for Blake to not make the grand finals with that wildcard spot. So Blake is like guaranteed, I would say. But the other spots are very interesting. Hunter has the advantage right now, but the interesting thing for Hunter is that Hunter probably won't be passing Camby for 6th. So Hunter will probably be staying outside of the top 6, most likely. And if he does, he has to rely on those wildcard points, and he only has 1. Another driver that has 1 that you might not think of is actually Armada. Armada got a podium in the very first race of the season that earned him a wildcard point right away. So Armada, even though he's way down there in the points, he has a wildcard point. So Armada is still in the conversation to potentially take that spot away from Hunter. Again, I think Blake is pretty well locked. But Hunter's spot, Hunter is on the hot seat yet again. I mean, he was the one that was in that weird position where it's like, is he going to make it? Oh, wow, again. Detail trying to get by Blake there, I think. But yeah, again, like the hot seat, it was Hunter last season. It's Hunter again. That's brutal. It's Hunter again this season for sure. And again, they're tied on wildcard points. So even though Hunter has a big points advantage on Armada, if Hunter doesn't earn a wildcard point in that last week and Armada does, Armada can punch his ticket. And then realistically, you only need 2 wildcard points. So it's not going to be easy, but anybody else, not just Armada, but anybody else outside of that wildcard spot, they're going to have 1 week left to maybe make it happen. Do we get a rogue D Mills appearance? I don't know. But 2 wildcard points is difficult, but doable in 1 week. So realistically, Armada has the best shot of taking that from Hunter. But I mean, it's anybody's game. 1 wildcard point is not a huge advantage. Now, again, that being said, Hunter does have the points advantage. So if anybody ties him in wildcard points, Hunter will likely get that tiebreaker. So that is the thing that's the advantage that Hunter has going for him, is that, again, like Armada would have to get that wildcard point. Anybody else would have to get those 2 wildcard points. Like that kind of needs to happen. Like it's not going to be enough for any of those guys to just tie him, because he just has that big points advantage. But again, interesting stuff. So it's stuff to start thinking about, is those battles going into that last cutoff week, how spicy that could get. And then also the other battles too, because the regular season points battles are getting pretty spicy. And it's interesting because we're going to be doing it a little bit differently. We've done this before, but it's been a while. where we're doing the grand final and the regular season finale all in one. That'll potentially create some interesting scenarios too, where like depending on how close those regular season battles are, and how much you care about those, how does that affect how you race the last week? Like, do you make a decision that's maybe not the best for the grand final, but it's good for your regular season points? Do you make a rogue play that's the opposite, that's maybe good for your grand final, but it might be a risky move in terms of where you are in the regular season? Like, it's going to create some interesting scenarios there. So that'll be fun to watch. That'll be interesting. Camby has now worked his way all the way up into this now too. That's unfortunate. Yeah, Detail is having a hard time getting by Blake this race, and it's big for the rest of the field because he's been really good in these GK races. Finally got second in one of them in the most recent one, but it was very, very close battle to the end. Like, there was a pretty legit battle for that one between him and Luke. But this one, it's going to be hard for him to get back into contention, I think. And here we go. This could be move for the lead. Soul had a big gap, but it's cut down. Luke is right there, just a couple goose lengths behind. Oh, and Soul makes a mistake. Oh, that was really close. That was really close. They could have both went down. Luckily, Luke was able to recover and get that momentum, and this might be the pass for the lead. It is. So Luke's going to move into the lead. Soul back to second. Roman's still trailing behind. Roman's kept it pretty close with Luke this whole race. Roman definitely not out of this one, but he's going to have to get by Soul pretty quickly. Would be a big finish for Roman, too, if he could get up there and get a GK win, like get another win on a different type of track, like all his wins have come on Hog TRS so far. Like, if he could get one on a different track type, that'd be huge for his championship bid, right? Like, it's hard to be a legit part of the conversation if you're only winning on one type of track. If he could, like, break through that barrier, get a win on a different type of track, that'd be huge for putting his name in there. Because, again, like I said, he's definitely the dark horse, but he's the only one close enough to also be in that conversation right now. Slaunch and Soul are having a close battle with each other, but they're a little too far out. Camby's a little too far out. Anybody else behind that's, like, definitely out. So it's most likely between Detail and Luke again, but Roman does have a dark horse shot this season. He's close enough to where, again, if he has a really good late season run, could happen. So fun stuff to watch. So we haven't had that in a while. It's been a lot of two-way battles, so we haven't had that in a while where we've had like a legit three-way battle, and we kind of have that. Now, again, I was talking about the terrain oval season in the future. That season, I think, could potentially have that, because who the hell knows what's going to happen in that season. That one's going to be ridiculous. Again, we'll get some stuff soon on the future for the rest of this year. Terrain oval, not sure when it'll be coming up, but definitely be one of the next ones for sure. This Camby finally getting by Blake there. I think Detail finally got by him. So they're running out of time. I think Detail now trying to work on Slaunch potentially. But going to have to work pretty hard for that. Slaunch trying to do... I think it's Coop behind... Yeah, it's Coop behind him right now, so it's a pretty big gap. But Slaunch trying to work this spot on Soul. Slaunch going to try to enter into the top 3 right here. And this would be a big pass for Slaunch. I mean, if he gets this, he's looking like a podium spot. Well, for one, I don't know if he's finished that well. He's come close. Well, he might have got a podium in the first one, now that I think about it. But for the most part... Oh, that's brutal. That's brutal how they just came together. Let's take a look at a replay of that. That's really unfortunate. Obviously, nothing intentional from Slaunch right there. He was just coming in hot, and Soul was getting by Armada, and they both got a little wide, and they just come together. And I can't believe Soul's recovery is a brutal barrel roll like that. That's honestly just really unlucky. But yeah, tough stuff there. Really unfortunate for Soul, because obviously he had such a good start, but he's still in the top 5. Still need to keep his head in the game. If he can get a top 5 here, it'd still be a good result. That is going to bring Detail a lot closer to Soul, so he might be under pressure again. Yeah, it moves Slaunch into podium spot, and Slaunch's GKs have not been as good this season. For whatever reason, the terrain oval recently, it started off really rough, but I mean, recently 2 wins. That's where he's been able to... he's gotten some podiums in other series, but that's the only one where he's been able to get on the top step. Waiting to see if he can be able to do it on one of the other track types. I definitely think he can, for sure. One of them I expected to see was the AX, and to be fair, he had some opportunities in the AX. They just haven't really worked out so far, but on the bright side for him, he has one more AX after the one that we race after this. So two more AXs, but the reason why I said one more is because he's got one that he made. The one in the grand final, the one in the last week, is a Hog AX, but one that he worked on. So maybe a little bit of home track action, and maybe he could figure something out there. And yeah, this is Detail behind Soul right now. Obviously, that crash. It would have been hard for Detail to catch Soul on track, but that crash helped out a lot. And he makes the move right there. Nicely timed move. He's definitely going to get the spot. So that helps out Detail to get to 4th. Can he make a run all the way up to the podium? It'd be a pretty incredible recovery if he could. Slaunch is pretty far up there. There is a decent amount of time left. It's possible. It's going to be... Yeah, that's a big gap. You see Slaunch on the left side of your screen. It's possible. It's possible. It's going to be really difficult, but he's got some good pace here. We'll see if he can pull it off. Yeah, maybe Camby. I was going to say maybe Camby could make a bid for the top 5, but Soul's got a huge gap on Camby. It's going to take even more unfortunate circumstances for that to occur. Soul has lost a lot of ground here, but I think we're on 5 to go. I think he's probably pretty safe now. He shouldn't be at risk of losing the top 5. Here's the top 3 gap. Slaunch getting kind of close to Roman now. Luke stretched it a little bit on Roman. It's to the point where Roman can't really see him, so Luke, as long as he runs consistent, might have this one locked up to take another GK win. But Slaunch, I thought Roman would have had that second for sure, but Slaunch is like right there. You see, that is Roman and Slaunch right there. Like, they are close. This is going to be interesting. This race might not be over. Slaunch legitimately has a shot. He's going to have to run some absolute heaters. He's probably going to need a mistake or 2 out of Roman. But he could make this run. And if he does, that'd be a 1-2 to start off the night. I mean, this would be already in podium position. It's Slaunch's best chance at an overall in the season, easily. Like, it already is. But if he gets this second, then I'd say he's like easily the favorite. So it's a big move here to see if he can do it. And he's got Roman in his sights, but he's running out of time. I think we're going to 3 to go this time by, so he's running out of time. It looks like he's gaining, though. It looks like he's gaining. But again, it's such a big gap for such a short amount of time, you know? It's not a big gap, but for 3 laps remaining, it's a pretty big gap. So it's going to be tough. But, you know, Slaunch likes to send it in these late situations. And he does have a pretty decent cushion behind him. So as long as he didn't make too crazy of a mistake, he'd probably be protected from Detail behind. So he does have a little bit of leeway here. We're on 2 to go now, to make that crazy move that he likes to do in these situations sometimes. He can probably afford it here without losing the position. It's interesting to watch Slaunch in these situations because, again, he has that opportunity at an overall, but he always tries to get as many points as possible. So how risky does he want to play it here? Going on a white flag this time by. One more lap around. It looks like Luke's going to take another GK win here. On Skyway. But we're still watching this battle, and we got some lap traffic action. This could maybe be the spice up, but Slaunch, he was gaining, but now it looks like he's lost a little bit. I think it's out of the question now. I don't think it's going to happen anymore. Here we go, final time up the hill. Luke going to take it, 2nd GK win for him on the season, 5th win total on the season. Roman going to take 2nd, Slaunch 3rd. Detail 4th. And he got pretty close. I mean, he was not that far behind him for how much cheese he dealt with, Soul rounding out the top 5. Yeah, I mean, if it was a 40-lap race, I would have been really curious to see what would have happened there in a 40-lap race because, I mean, Slaunch and Roman, Detail, like, I think they all could have came together if there was, like, 5 more laps. So, yeah, just ran out of time at the end. That would have really spiced things up, I think. Waiting on everybody else to finish up here. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, maybe I'll talk about it a little bit in the next race, but I'll mostly save it for the recap. But we'll get to it. There's some interesting stuff. Coming up soon in the season. But as far as this night goes, we've got one more race to close out the night. It is Louisville AX. I think it's a pretty good one. It's an H2A Goose AX, and I think I did a decent job on it considering I haven't done one of those in a while, and had some help from Detail to tune it up a little bit too. So shout out to him on that. I think it turned out really well. I think it should be a pretty fun race to watch. So don't miss that one. Hope you guys enjoyed Skyway, and see you there for the next race.